We're live in effect in the place to be once again. This is Perspective Show. I am one of your hosts, Littyyy Bro Flacko. My other host is here to my left, or wherever it is that y'all seeing. Is it my right for the internet? I don't know. To my left, to my
You're
right,
like,
Holden Stephan Roy. Holden, say hi, Holden.
hi, Holden to your left.
Word, word. Hi, Holden to my left and shit. Know what I mean? And this week we got our first
Reggie to my
ever
left.
duo interview. You know, Tique said, and this is who's to my left. Our first ever duo interview. You know what I mean? The Jersey City legends, indie legends, CF and Tique, who together formed the Billion Man Rebellion, BMR.
Facts.
Peace, peace.
Facts. You already. What's good, legend?
Was goody. So, all right, y'all, we're gonna get straight into it, right? So, the way that this show came about, right, is like I met the homie Holden online and shit. I ain't know this motherfucker from a can, from a hole in the wall. You know what I mean? Like I literally met this motherfucker online, right? And I was doing album promo and shit, and he came across our shit. This is a super abbreviated version because we got two of y'all, so I want to get straight to the interview, right? And he does album reviews. He saw our album. He did a review. And I was like, yo, we should do an interview. And he was like, actually, I was going to ask you to do an interview. We did an interview. And let me tell you something, guys. This shit felt like fucking therapy. I was like, yo, why have I been a fucking rapper for this long and I never talked publicly about like my life growing up instead of like always talking about rap shit. You know what I mean? So with that, I was immediately like a New York motherfucker, right? Like you discover some lit shit and you're like, yo, I'm gonna put all my people on. You know what I mean? And here we are. You know what I'm saying? Like we've been interviewing for almost a year now, all the homies, and it's been a fantastic voyage. I get to learn shit about my bros that like I did not know like that. You know what I'm saying? Holden has his set questions he likes to open up with, but I like to cut that off and say instead, let's open up with introduce yourselves individually and tell the people where you guys are from. And then after you're done saying who you are, where you're from, tell the people where your parents are from.
Um, Peace. My name is Don Tique, Manguel. I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. My parents are from Bushwick, Brooklyn. I met CF in Jersey. Your turn.
What up? My name's CF. I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. My parents originally were from. My mother was came from the Bronx. My father came from Manhattan, and they met in Hoboken, New Jersey. So that's basically that's my story.
That's a very New York like between the two of y'all cover the three most important boroughs. No disrespect to Queens and Staten Island, you know what I mean? But all the disrespect intended clearly.
Shit, I went to kindergarten in Queens.
Yeah, Tique is a actual New Yorker.
New
My family,
York all the way, huh?
normally Puerto Ricans used to live in New York and move to Jersey, but Tique is directly from New York. I met him in 1994 in Jersey City.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna get into
So
that.
Facts.
So
Bonnie in the comments said that CF has a great New Yorker accent.
oh yeah,
I think
I
that's
mean
just the legend. That's just the legend's cadence.
I think
Hold
the
on.
fact the
T,
Jersey got that
you
Staten Island shit in there too.
yeah
Yeah, they
is that
do. Yeah, they do.
where I grew up in Jersey City, it was only 5 minutes from New York, so we the closest point to New York City compared to any other place in Jersey. So like I normally went to New York. I ain't really go to, and I always kept
I,
it. My grandfather, I was raised by somebody from the Bronx, so my grandfather talked like a motherfucker from the Bronx. It is what it is.
you real quick. Like I tell people that Jersey City is the fifth borough more than Staten Island is. It's more easily connected to New York City jumping on the path. Like if you can't connect to New York City by train and transferring by train, then you're not really a part of New York City. And to get to Staten Island, you got to get on that ferry. But to get to Jersey City, all you got to do is transfer at one of the many multiple stations to catch that path, and boom, bang, bing, you're right in Jersey City. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
salute to
I mean,
Jersey
you know,
City being the fifth borough.
when
Yo,
you
I
walk
remember my wife
outside,
from
you
Jersey
see
City,
that.
and she got the Bronx accent like Remy Ma. Because with black people downtown, they blend in with the Puerto Ricans so easy. That
Yeah,
accent just
that's
come out. That Bronx accent just come out.
that's
Heavy,
another fact.
heavy.
When Jersey City was like, well, it was almost like, it's a place where Puerto Ricans and blacks intermingled a lot. And a lot of Puerto Ricans obviously mix with black, and they just continue to mix with black when they over here. So it's almost like Lower East Side. It's almost like being in the Bronx to a certain degree. The
It
way
is.
how the mixes
It is.
are, and the accent is not. It's only 5 minutes away from Manhattan, so it's a little bit different than like being in Newark and shit like that. Is Jersey City's unique because it's Jersey and New York fused into one thing and shit. So it's mad. It's a hybrid. Mad, but because
Facts,
mad people,
facts.
the vast majority of people that live here came from New York, and the buildings right now, shit, we got buildings that rival the skyline of Manhattan, so it's really connected. I
Facts.
mean, when you look across, I go outside of my house and I walk and I see the Freedom Tower right there in front of my motherfucking face, like I could touch them. Just like when the Twin Towers was here, you could look at them shits and that shit's wild, like super close. And I seen them shits go down. You know the deal. So,
Jersey
and
City has the best view in all of America, and it's because Jersey City views Manhattan. You know what I mean? Like if you live in Jersey City
that's a fact.
on the water, you got that whole Manhattan skyline as your main view, and that's the most beautiful fucking
Yeah.
skyline you
That
can see anywhere. You know what I mean?
You know where Biggie took where they snapped that picture of Biggie with the towers was in Jersey City, and then the dude, yo, rest in peace to the photographer, cause he was from Jersey City and he died recently, but he was
Rest in peace.
he's the guy who I met him actually through my man Wami. Peace to my man Wami. Y'all always connect. My man Wami always get us connected. That's the plug. Facts.
Homie is the
But
plug. Everybody needs a homie that's the plug.
you know where we
All right,
at. You know where we rep.
let's get it started, yo. Holden, ask,
Alright.
get these questions off.
Alright,
I
so I
mean,
got like
off
the
the
opening
tarmac.
So we have to start it off with an opening question to get the ball rolling a little bit. It's a bit of a story, and when it lands, y'all can answer it. I'm not used to asking two people at once, so we'll let you both answer it, and we'll just kind of blend in as it does. But it all starts with my girlfriend, and she's washing dishes one time, and she's got her phone up, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, the I got a feeling, ooh. And she's like vibing, she's dancing, she's doing her thing, and I'm looking at her, and I had this moment where I'm like, when the fuck did this song become chores music? And I say that because, like, right now, people be putting this on when they vibing, they doing chores, dishes, they working out, they in some place where maybe it's a little boring, and you want to go back to the happy place in time. And I say that because you run it back 10 years. This song is one of those middle of the night, this is the vibe, like, you're having the best time, everybody drunk song. 10 years goes by. The song doesn't change because it's a song. But we change so much, the context in our lives evolves so much that the music plays such a different role now. Which got me thinking about them little 20-year-olds and stuff running around. They have no idea that what they're partying to right now is going to become the chores music of their future. And they also don't know that what they're partying to right now is what we do chores to right now. And that's just kind of the circle of life and stuff. I bring all this up because, like, when we talk about our musical journeys and we go through it, right? So often you just kind of get to this point where, like, we started this adolescence, this 12, 13, this, I discovered hip hop at this point. I started writing at this point. But if we think about it, that's not really the start of the story at all, right? When you were born, there's a good chance that there's like music and things playing in the hospitals and whatnot. As you're going throughout your life, there's going to be a whole bunch of music that surrounds you. And oftentimes you don't have a lot of control over it. Like, I can remember being, 5 years old. My dad's got these like gray boxes all around the apartment, the amp and the radio, the tape deck, all these wires and shit going around to these speakers and whatnot. He used to be doing things like playing Led Zeppelin tapes and stuff during the day, but at nighttime it would be more like the club music straight from Montreal, and they used to do that live and whatnot. My mom's was more like the discos, the love songs, musicals, that kind of vibes. All that to say, like, all of this impacted me my whole time growing up, and it wasn't until much later on I had any real say in like what I actually listened to and consumed in terms of the vibes of it all. So I was hoping y'all could bring us back to like the youngest CF and Don Tique you can remember being, and describe a little bit about what it sounded like to be you growing up, like what your parents was bumping, the technologies and vibes of it all.
The sounds and the vibe for me, my was shit that I would find on the radio myself. Later on, my pops would take me to like events, like house events and hip hop events, like rock steady events and stuff like that. But the main stuff I would find would be the stuff I found myself on Kiss FM when if Red Alert was on, if Chuck Chill Out was on, if Kid Capri was on at the time, whoever was on, I would be the kid sitting there trying to make my little tape so my cousin will listen to it later. So I kind of found the music on my own.
What were your parents playing though?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There was no specific thing that they were playing. My father would go out and dance to shit, but he wouldn't really be like, yo, put this on. Like,
So it's just
I would be the one that find the music. Like,
That's
okay.
deep.
That's crazy.
When
You was
I
like
was
the
younger-
house DJ in your house growing up.
word.
like for real, like that's not
For
usually
real.
how it works out.
At all. That's hardly how it.
I ain't even know that. That's deep. Cause I remember his pops being that dude that can dance and plays the congas, but Tique had his own musical journey.
Yeah,
which
he played
also led me-
congas, but it wasn't. He couldn't play him in my grandmother's house in Brooklyn.
That's
Wasn't hearing
gangster.
that shit. So
Yo, I
You had
had
to
the
go to
same
DX
shit
for
that
that.
Tique got. Like what Tique said is almost similar to my shit. Cause growing up, like I remember my father having that what's that shit that they had? The 8 tracks, right? That they used to plug into they car stereos. It was like, you know, before tapes and
Yeah,
shit like
I
that.
think. Yeah, 8 tracks.
So when my father and my mother, they would listen to whatever commercial radio was popping at the time. That's when they was together. That was a beautiful time because my parents were only together for 5 years of my life, and they purchased a home together, and that was a beautiful moment. So the music that was playing is always something that when I look back on and reflect on, it was a good, small but good period of my young life. So we would hear shit like the Ritz, the Hard, that shit with was it solid as a rock by fucking forgot what the fuck was
Oh
their
my
name
God!
and
Wait,
shit.
I feel like I remember that. Solid as a rock.
Solid as a rock. Dun, 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 dun. As for the Simpson and shit like that,
Okay.
and all that stuff. But that never led me into hip hop because my parents did not even remotely celebrate hip hop. They was two Puerto Ricans who came from New York backgrounds in Jersey, and the shit that they knew about was salsa and probably disco because they was in the 70s. I was born 78. So there was a disconnect between like some Puerto Ricans outside of New York who weren't immediately from the Bronx and shit like that may have liked salsa and this, that, and the third, but hip hop may have not penetrated in their area to the point where it was being celebrated. So I had to learn about hip hop on my own journey, just like Tique had to learn about his own musical journey. And I learned that through my cousins. Like when my mother and father broke up, I had a best friend of mine who lived around the corner, and he used to dance into the fire escape in his underwears to rap, and he would put me up on a rap and shit like that. And I'm like, all right, oh shit, this is the new thing. And then breakdancing was oddly enough, when my mother and father broke up, breakdancing was really popping. So it became like the fad, but the parents wasn't celebrating that shit. Like nowadays, parents and children are kind of fused in together. There's no kind of generation gap. But when hip hop came on the scene, there was a whole gap, especially for like Hispanic people, because they on some old disco, salsa shit, and they don't know shit about rap. The young kids know about rap, so we had to find our own selves. We had to find this shit by ourselves. And going through there, I remember visiting my cousins who lived in the projects in Hoboken, and they would listen to hip hop, and that's like taboo for me, because like, that's not music that you were supposed to listen to. But they would put me up on it, and then that's where they put me up on video music box. I didn't have cable in my house. My grandfather had no cable, so they would have cable, but aside from that, they would also look at video music box, because there was no box or jukebox and none of that shit. Video music box is where the real hip hop was at. This is even before Yo MTV Raps type shit. So I would learn about hip hop through that, through them. And my cousin would break dance and stuff like that, and you know what I mean. My parents put me on the music, but hip hop I learned through my best friend and through my cousins.
When did you
That's
guys
how I got in
discover
there.
hip hop then? Like, how old were you when that happened?
I was around probably 6 years old,
Say a word.
6 to
Around the
seven years
same
old.
time. Around the same time.
Yeah, that's
You know what
wild.
though? That's like not right. Like the story, the stories that we have, right? Because we're all, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, Teak, right? This is our first time meeting, but like I think that we might be in the same age group. You know what I mean? Around the same years, type of thing.
I'm
And like
42.
for right, so I'm 41, right? So like, it's one of those things where like back then, I think all of our parents, right? Like they weren't. It wasn't just Latin parents that weren't into hip hop. Like even like my friends, all my black friends growing up were all always like, oh, black American friends were always all like their parents and their uncles will always be like, it's fucking rabbity rap hoobity hop shit. You know what I mean? Like they would always criticize them for it because their generation was all about that like soul music and R&B music. You know what I mean? And like for Latin parents, it'd probably be like some salsa, merengue shit, right? Like my father was into uh like Puerto Rican country music, which is like Jibaro
Oh, like
music.
Jibaro
You know
music,
what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's just
Jibaro
hard. I
music
fuck
and
with
shit.
that.
Which is like Puerto Rican's version of kind of like mariachi type music, I would say almost. You know what I mean?
I
Because it's
like
like these
that. I like
fucked up
Ramito and
stories.
Chuito.
Like there's always these fucked up
Yo, that
stories.
shit,
And then when they
that
and when
was
they're
some
speaking
gangsta
to
ass
the women, they're
stories.
always saying some like fucked up shit like, "Oh, girl, I didn't mean to beat you. Why you left me? You got me crying." It's like, nigga, you just said you beat her. What is wrong with you right now? Why are you singing about that? What are you doing? Right? But like the point being, right, is that like our parents' generation, like they kind of didn't really like they just weren't into hip hop like that. We were the ones really like a part of that whole, movement of it spreading, like, and they'd hear it and then they'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? The fuck? Which is like
Yo,
kind of
that's
what we do when we hear new genres nowadays, right? Like I hear people like drop music that like I've never heard before, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Sometimes it's like, what the fuck is this shit in a good way? Sometimes it's what the fuck is this shit in a bad way, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, like when I was this like you said, like we had to find hip hop on our own, our generation. So
Yeah, it's mad
my
different.
grandmother was actually my grandmother celebrated my shit because she'd be like, yo, I want you to rap. I want you to, like, my mother was like, nah, hell no, don't do that shit. She didn't believe in me. Still to this day, she don't really fuck with that whole rap shit. She don't understand the in and outs or dynamics or if we, how what is it to be a level that you're really good. To her, it's like, that's that generation disconnect. But my grandmother, oddly enough, was very supportive and be like, "Yo, I want you to rap." We used to go downstairs in the basement of my house that I'm in right now, and there would be like a little, like a step out to the outside, and we use it as like a little platform as a stage to perform. And my grandmother would be like, "Go ahead, rap, rap, rap." She loved that shit. So that's kind of bugged out. You know what I mean? That my grandma was like, up there was always supportive of anything I did and shit like that. She just
That's
wanted to
dope.
see me happy, so she didn't really give a fuck what it was. She'll watch
Yeah, she was cool
wrestling with
too.
me.
She was
Yeah,
cool
Don
too.
Tique is the only person. This is how far back that Don Tique and I go. He was the only person kind of allowed us right now that knew my grandmother before she even passed, cause she passed I think 2 years after I met Don Tique and shit like that. So you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
we have a connection on some other level because we seen a lot of shit,
You
and made it
experience life, a
as
lot of
far as we
life
got
together.
there. Facts. So that's gangster. But we both have similar paths in terms of how we discovered music, and
Yeah, I
from
used to
two
battle.
different sides of
Me
the
and
river.
I used to battle my grandmother in singing, so we shared a
Whoa,
we
say
shared a.
word.
Wait,
That's
hold
I
on,
could
hold
gangster.
sing
on.
for shit.
You
I
gotta,
could
give
sing
the
for shit. She
rundown on
couldn't
that
sing for
story.
shit. But
Oh,
Yeah, that's
y'all
gangster.
be singing like off key singing against
yeah,
each other
doing
type.
our doing our ain't no mountain high enough renditions and shit.
And his grandmother
But
don't play
yeah,
neither.
but
I heard
that's the
she
thing.
don't she
That's the
don't play.
generation though. Our generation, we kind of got raised by our grandparents and shit. So it is what
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
facts.
word up. I
And my
definitely was
grandmother would
raised
let
by
me
my
take over the
grandparents.
radio. She would let me take shit apart and make sure we got cable from the other people's apartment. I had permission to do all that shit.
Yo, you
Yo,
know
that's gangster.
that's dope, and you know what though? Like that right there shows already like a correlation between y'all two, where like y'all both kind of had like people in your families that supported you and supported you guys individually, right? Like growing up. That's like that's like I don't know, for me, like outside of this show, I like paying attention to like how why it is, like the science of why particular people get along with each other, right? And like
Yeah,
knowing CF Legend as long as I've known him, right? Like I pick up on that, like he's like he don't really like too many people, like
that's a
so
fact.
so and this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing, right? Because like he's honest. At least he's honest. Like there's people out there that pretend so hard to like people, like when they really don't, right? And it's just like disingenuous, and you can kind of tell that they don't really give a fuck about you. But like Legend, like when he don't give a fuck about you, you can kind of fucking tell. You know what I mean? And this is what I'm really trying to get to is like the science of why y'all probably like fuck with each other so heavy, and that might be like a
Yeah.
link in both of y'all's like personality DNAs. Like y'all had a family member that you like loved a lot that like supported you guys individually, like both your grandmas,
Yeah,
it sounds like.